These are some of the terms and definitions that you need to understand for the mechanics course. So we've got the first one there is speed, and we generally think in everyday terms of speed as being kilometers per hour, but in terms of mechanics we need to talk about meters per second. That's the standard unit, meters per second. And it's the rate of motion, how far an object moves in a period of time. And it's got the formula S, which is a symbol for speed, is distance over time. So how much distance is covered, which is our meters, divided by the time in seconds. Now velocity, V, it's very similar to speed, but it's got a direction of motion. So it's speed in a certain direction. And we've got the same formula, distance over time, and the same units, meters per second. Force, F, so that's something that's going to cause an object to change its speed, direction, or shape. So a force on an object, measured in newtons. And force is mass times acceleration. Now mass is in kilograms, and acceleration, if we're talking about a load that has a certain kilogram, the force that it exerts is going to be its mass in kilograms times acceleration due to gravity. And we're going to use the number 9.81. So mass in kilograms times 9.81 will give us the force in newtons. Torque is a turning or twisting force. So when you're tightening a nut with a spanner, you're exerting a force on the spanner, and that spanner is turning, and so that's going to have a certain torque. A motor turning, the shaft will have a torque because it's that rotational or turning force. It's measured in Newton meters, and the formula is the force that it exerts times the distance. So that distance from the pivot point. So if you think of a spanner, the length of the spanner would be the distance, and the force would be the force that you exert on the end. Energy and work. So if we move things, we provide a force to move an object that's got mass. If it moves, then we must be doing work. We must be using energy. And the energy is measured in joules. And it's got a formula, the force times the distance. So the amount of newtons times the distance that it's moved. So it's the same thing as this one, the turning torque. So if you move a box a certain distance, you'd have to find the force, would be its mass times gravity, times the distance that you moved it. Power is the rate of using that energy. So if you move that box very quickly, it's going to be a high power. If you move it very slowly, the power is going to be small, because this time is going to be much bigger. It's going to give us a smaller power calculation. So in electrical terms, power is voltage times current. In mechanical terms, it's energy, which is force times distance, divided by time. Efficiency, so this is the ratio basically of what you get out from a machine divided by what you have to put in. So you're never going to get as much out as you put in. The efficiency is always going to be less than 1, and we usually turn it into a percentage by timesing it by 100%. So the amount of power we get out by the amount divided by the amount of power that we put in times 100% will tell us the efficiency.